Genetically modified foods, or GMFs, are foods that come from plants in which genetic material or DNA has been altered in a way that does not occur naturally. For hundreds of years, humans have been genetically enhancing other organisms through the practice of selective breeding. Think back to Mendel and his pea plants, but now it goes a step beyond that. Technology now allows us to transfer genes between organisms.
How's this done?
Well, gene transfer technology is basically a sophisticated version of a cut-and-paste operation. Once a desired gene is identified, the original organism's genome, it can be cut out, transferred to the plant they want, and pasted into the genome. Once a new gene has been introduced, the plant can be bred to create a new strain that passes the gene from generation to generation. But there's so many different factors and concerns to consider when we talk about GMFs. The first and foremost being, how do we know that these GMFs are safe? In Canada, many regulatory laws exist for risk assessments, which evaluate the impacts on agricultural, food safety, and environmental risks. And if the GMF passes all these assessments, and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, CFIA, approves it. GMFs are developed because there are perceived advantages to the producer or consumer of these foods. Basically, they were going for a product with a lower price and a greater benefit. See, developers wanted their GMFs to be accepted by producers, so they concentrated on innovations that would bring direct benefit to the farmers and the food industry. They would like to be able to grow more easily in some environments, like dry soil conditions. They would ripen slower and last longer during shipping. They would bruise less easily. They would have longer shelf time. They would taste better. Another objective for developing a genetically modified plant is to improve the crop protection. For example, the tomato plant's beetle resistance, which relies on a gene from a bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis, or BT, that scientists inserted into the tomato plant's genome. This gene is called Cry1AC and codes a protein that is poisonous to certain types of insects, including beetles. Now, they no longer need to be sprayed with chemical pesticides, right? Think again. There have been cases in which bugs and weeds were reported to have become increasingly resistant to the poisonous protein. Speaking of environment, there are so many issues, some of which are the capability of the GMO to escape and potentially introduce the engineered genes into wild populations, the persistence of genes after the GMO has been harvested, the susceptibility to the gene product of the non-target organisms. I'm talking about the insects, which are not pests like the bees. The stability of the gene, the reduction of the spectrum of other plants, including loss of biodiversity, and increased use of chemicals in agriculture. Here's something else to consider. As a consumer, I want to make sure these GMFs are safe for my family to eat. All the things we discussed are potentially concerning about GMFs to consumers, so why risk buying them at all? Some would argue that there are some health benefits to having GMFs. For instance, they're engineered to have more of a certain nutrient, like the vitamin A on golden rice, a GM rice crop used to fight malnutrition in developing countries. To conclude, there are many agriculture and economical benefits when it comes to GMFs. However, there's too many environmental and health safety concerns to ignore, so my mind on the matter is made. I'm opposed to genetically modified foods.